Alright guys, so in this video I'm going to show you how to make a simple Apex test class. So basically when we write normal Apex code, see I have this class here, it provides a certain purpose or functionality, and in a test class we basically make the data or conditions that the normal Apex code here would normally act on, and we basically create it in a test class environment to see if it works before deploying it. So they say that 75% of Apex code needs to be covered, but ideally we would cover 100% of the code that we write. So basically I'm just going to show you what that looks like. So this is the normal class that we have here. It's public and I called it example class. All I did was you do file new Apex class. So our first method in this class is going to be called example method 1, and there's two methods here. They're not really doing a whole lot. This is just for an example. So this first method takes this variable as a parameter, and basically all it's doing is if whatever's in the contact variable's last name is Coral, then it's going to update the contact to have the department equal to this and the email equal to this. And all the second method is doing here, which is called example method 2, all it's doing is taking the list of contacts as a parameter. So now that we have our two methods here for our normal class, let's look at the test class that I made and see what that looks like. So here is the test class. So to show that this is a test class, we have @is_test here. An interesting fact here is that classes defined with the @is_test annotation do not count against the org limit, which is 6 megabytes for all the Apex code. So this test class is going to be called example class test. And we have @test set up here, which is important. So basically you need this in order to create all the data you need in the test class. So for this test class, we're going to create the contacts. We're not going to use the real contacts in the org. We're going to create these contacts here, and we need this @test setup to be able to make this method that creates these contacts here. Or really just creating any mock data, you need @test setup. So this first contact we're making is going to be stored in contact A variable. And this is the name of the method here, setup data. And we're going to make this contact's last name equal to Coral. So if you remember from the normal class that we had, it's basically saying if the contact variable contains the last name Coral, it's going to do these things. So in the test class, we're basically making those conditions true. So we're making the last name equal to Coral. And so now for contact B, this is the second contact we're going to make. And the only reason we're making another contact is because this second method we had in our normal class it accepts a list as a parameter. So in order for something to be a list, there has to be at least two. So we have two contacts, so that should make it so there's at least two. So, and then we're just inserting the first contact and the second contact into this test class to be used. So now because we have two methods from the normal class here, example method 1 and example method 2, we need to make these two test class methods, test example method 1 and test example method 2, in order to test them. So basically, let's look at the first one. So since the first one takes this parameter here, if the last name is Coral, then it'll do these things. So basically, we are going to query the data that we made here from this test setup method, and it's going to get the last name from this contact, from contact where the last name is Coral. And now we're going to just call the real method by class name, which is example class, dot example method 1. And so we have example class is just the class name, and example method 1 is here. And we can do it in this notation because it's a static method. And so as we're calling this real method from the class, we're going to pass this variable here, which is this. So we basically just stored the contacts that have the last name Coral in here, which we got from here, and we're passing it to this method. And when we go to test it, if it's covered, that means that it works. And basically the same thing for the second one. It's similar, but it's a little different. So this one, we are making a list called contacts, and we're storing all the contacts, and we're getting all the IDs, the last names, and the departments, and the emails from all these contacts. And so now we have more than one contact in this list variable here, in this list here, because we made two contacts here. And just as a reminder, we have @is_test here just to show that it's a test method, and this is also a test method. And so we're just going to call the second real method by the class name dot the method. So we have example class dot example method 2, example class and example method 2. That's the notation. And we're just going to pass this contacts list. And as we're testing it, if it tests successfully, that means that this method works. So now let's test it since we have our class and our test class, and let's see if it works. So in order to test it, because we have @is_test here and this is a test class, I'm going to go up here and click run test. Here it's testing it synchronously. And here we see a check mark that says at 1:25 p.m., which it is here, that this tested successfully to 100% here. It says the result is completed. So since we tested out and it was successful, that's the end of this video, and hope you're able to learn a thing or two. So thanks and have a nice day.